to lose.
Are you ready?
What do we got to lose is what I'm saying.
Are you done with your science experiment?
I didn't even pour it yet. I didn't even go down and get ice yet.
Okay.
That's how dedicated to the show I am.
Well, not really.
This Super Bowl Friday.
That's right. I'm Nuggets. I'm the Nugget Master.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that this weekend?
Yeah, it's this Sunday.
Big game, Kenny. What are you making?
You know what I saw? I told you guys this.
I'm not going back. This is all going to be part of the show.
Oh, good. Good. This is the banter I like.
No, I told you guys this, that the worse the world is, the better, the lighter the news. And somebody, I don't even know which station it was, locally had 5 healthy eating habits for the Super Bowl.
No, it's a day of gluttony.
What, are you kidding me?
It's a day of gluttony. Don't eat healthy. That's
Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores. You ready?
Stupid news.
Hey, you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores brings you Garage Logic Podcast number 1018, Feb 10, 2023. 49 degrees was the high on this day, a record high on this day. But you have to go back to 1877.
Climate change.
Oh, I know. And it was 24 below on this day in 1855.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Haidt in the newsroom, and of course, the Rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Soucheray.
A deep thought for everyone to think about before we get to the matters of the day.
Yeah.
This is a great... the other day I said, how come there's 57 genders but only 2 options for the surgery? Right?
Okay.
And Ishmael, he said, if you read this, call me Ishmael.
Okay.
He writes, I'm catching up on the podcast, and on 2.7, you made a solid point that there's 872 genders, but only 2 available for gender reassignment surgery. In the interest of being fact-based, you were wrong.
Uh-oh.
For gender reassignment surgery, there aren't 2 options. There's only 1, because you are already the other one.
Oh, good point.
Okay, I see what he's saying.
That's an excellent point. Thank you, Ishmael. You're already the other one. There's one option.
Right, you got one
so
option.
where do you come up with these 700,000 genders?
Yeah.
You fired up today.
Now let's go to, just a reminder, because he's such a great friend of ours with his piano. Steve Anderson's playing tonight
Oh, where?
at the Commodore. Love on the Hill. The Commodore is on
Where is the
Western and Summit. And he'll be there tonight with guests. And it's going to be vocalist Jack Cassidy and Jillian Gubash, musician Nate Wilson on violin. There's a special guest tonight, Catherine Budzian. Catherine Budzian?
I don't know.
Budzine.
Don't look at
yes.
me. I don't know.
You know her for some reason.
They're a nativity family, yes.
Yeah.
Talented,
And,
talented.
So anyway, it's at $20. You go. They got the bar, the whole deal. It's a neat venue. Stephen C. Anderson, the Garage Logic piano player tonight. Love on the Hill. Get it? Because it's
Love on the Hill. Ain't no
it's-
big surprise.
because it's nearing Valentine's Day.
Oh, I'm
yes,
sorry.
and I'm a
That sounds
adult.
like a perfect way to get a low-key buzz, right?
Yeah,
Just kind of
nice
sit there and
music.
sip on a martini.
Rookie, we may be in for a shocker here.
What
Why?
happened?
We lost. Did we lose Mr. T?
No.
No, Mr.
No,
Did he
no.
die?
If that's the case, somebody must have.
No.
What do you?
Oh, thank God. Okay. Phew.
Oh,
I thought you
that
meant
he
in
died
real life. I'm
No.
searching for Mr. T
No,
death here.
Lawrence Tiro still lives.
I don't want to hear about it.
Fool, shut up, fool.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Don't do that.
I'm
sorry,
sorry, I
I
had
was making
access to
sure.
the button.
Yeah.
I wish you
Let's
were
get
gone
on to the
Valentine's Day.
visit to St. Cloud by Kamala Harris. I have some information. First off is Matt. Oh, shoot. Do not use my name.
No,
Well, you were talking to me, right?
Ishmael.
You were talking to me.
Talking to you.
Yeah.
This guy's name is
Frank,
Jim.
isn't it?
Damn
Frank.
it, you did it again.
I was assigned to assist with the traffic detail of the vice president's business. I was able to take a video of the procession of vehicles. Not included in the video is all of the plow trucks and squad cars used to block highways and crossovers from St. Cloud to Clearwater and back into St. Cloud. One might wonder why this route was chosen, but it was a better tactical option. I saw 0 electric vehicles throughout the whole ordeal, which went pretty smooth.
Good.
Right.
I'm happy.
I have from...
They went to Clearwater and back
well,
up?
that must be where the flyer company is. Here's a note from Michael. My sources tell me that the gift that keeps on giving had 4 gas-guzzling SUVs that she used to get back and forth to her speech. Now, of course, those SUVs had to be flown in on what I think is a huge fuel-guzzling Air Force C-5, which did not spend the night and day at St. Cloud and had to fly in and out twice to support the SUVs. All of the nasty fossil fuel being used by the hypocrites to give a speech to the electric bus company. Very ironic. Chris writes, no. Oh, I spoke. Chris is the one who told us about how the employees of the EV bus company were to act.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Just catching up on the podcast and realized that my friend Doug the Barber nominated me to be the St. Cloud Mole observing Kamala's motorcade. Although I failed to spot her gas-guzzling parade, I was able to do some investigative work regarding her visit. A couple of nuggets that were observed from the spectacle.
Good.
And speaking of nugget, what do I become on this day?
The Nugget Master.
You are the Nugget Master.
Of the Super Bowl.
Of the Super
the
Bowl.
Nugget
Yeah,
Master.
it's all in. You're all in.
Thanks to Tim Buck, too. The EV bus in the backdrop had to be pushed into place because apparently they haven't completely figured out how to get the thing to actually run yet. This was verified by 2 separate sources. New Flyer Bus is owned by a Canadian-based company. I guess they couldn't find a U.S.-based company to celebrate, which is interesting because right up the road in Avon, Minnesota, Blattner Energy is probably the largest wind power construction company in the country. I spoke with a well-connected political figure yesterday who said we should expect more visits in St. Cloud from Democratic leadership because of Tom Emmer's new elevation to the number 2 post in the Republican-controlled House as majority whip. They hope to unseat him in the next election. P.S. Can we expect the comeback of any Super Bowl nuggets this week? Yes, you can. Good luck, Chris from St. Stephen. And we have Air Force 2. Air Force 2 was a Boeing C-32, which is a modified Boeing 757. The cargo plane that hauled the vehicles, this is from Mark, was a Boeing C-17A, and it was visible at times on Flight Radar 24 app. All right.
Copy that.
And this one says, tell that bearded wannabe hippie farmer you got on your show to quit inviting more of you Minnesotans to our great state. Maybe those lesser Dakotans to the south want you. Thank you, a concerned North Dakotan. P.S. Just because Kenny drives tractor, claims he knows what a combine looks like, and thinks he met John Deere, don't make him a farmer. That wasn't supposed to be in the Kamala pile. That regards Kenny's efforts to secede half the state of Minnesota to join the Dakotas.
What's his name?
This guy's name is Brent.
Well, friendly Brent.
Yeah.
I've been actually thinking we just need to start a 51st state instead of joining one of the Dakotas.
Well, we have 51 states. Don't we? Don't we have 51 states?
No. 50 in a district.
Excuse me while I forget myself. We have 50.
Maybe we ought to back.
I was thinking of Puerto Rico that always calls itself the 51st state.
Okay, I'm just going to, maybe read the next email.
DC.
I don't know. Move on.
Let's move on to Kamala.
DC,
Her remarks were not gaffe-ridden, and I have a theory about that I'll share with you following what you hear from our gal yesterday in St. Cloud. Was this actually played?
Yes. She's walking to the stage. Come on, you can't. 8 seconds in and you're already done. Oh, look at the crowd.
She's smiling.
Oh, yeah, waving, pointing.
She got the nod going.
Oh, it's good to see everyone. Please have a seat. I'm here to announce the shift change. Oh, it's good to be with everyone. And Mr. Vice President Wade, thank you for that introduction. But really, truly, Wade, thank you. It's been great to walk around and see the work that's happening here. And it really is wonderful to be with all of you. Matt, thank you for taking me around as well. And it's so good to be back in Minnesota with so many incredible leaders. I want to give a shout out to the governor, Tim Walz. He can't be with us today. He's in Washington with a bunch of the governors who are meeting there for their annual meeting. But in his absence, I have to talk about him.
Can you stop?
He has
I'm
been
out.
a true
Stop.
champion.
I'm only hearing out of one ear.
That's okay.
I
It's
was
just
going to warn you ahead of time that the audio we have, for some reason, all of the outlets only had it in the one channel.
I've got it in both here.
Well,
Weird.
continue. She's about to speak about walls.
Yes.
Can you fast
And
forward a
partner
little?
to the president and our administration, and in particular, a champion for our climate and for communities. In fact, as you all know, earlier this week, he signed a law that will make Minnesota's electricity 100% carbon-free by 2040. That's a big deal. It's a big deal. So to Governor Walz, to the leaders who are here, the leaders of the state legislature, the general who is here, and to all of the activists and organizers who fought for years to achieve these goals, congratulations. And thank you for all that you are doing right here in Minnesota to lead our nation forward.
Oh, we're
So
leading.
on Tuesday,
That's nice.
our President Joe Biden spoke to the nation, and he declared that the state of our union is strong. And he noted that over the past 2 years, America has created over 12 million jobs. Unemployment has fallen to the lowest level that it's been in 50 years.
All right, I can't take
And
it.
since
The jobs weren't created, they were resumed.
And in a lot of cases, people had to go get second jobs, or in some cases had to leave taking care of their kids to get jobs because of the cost of living skyrocketing. But no. He said the State of the Union is strong, Joe. So that must mean it's true.
Well,
How you doing?
what you're going to do when the well runs dry.
it is a big deal to go carbon free by 2040?
40, yeah.
And again, it's a big deal because it's a ray of hope. Because apparently these people believe we'll still be here in
That's a good
2040.
sign, yeah.
But really, what her emphasis on the leaders further removes her from just the man on the street. She's very proud to be a member of the third rail. And I hope, and I don't have much hope for a lot of Minnesotans to realize this, but many people in the country do realize it, and that is this is nothing more than a new wave of an attempt to completely control the population of the world. This has nothing to do with the climate. I've been saying that for 15 years. I hope you're awakening to that. I hope you really are. And the irony, of course, is coming on the knowledge many people have had, we're just getting onto it, with the idea that we'll never run out of oil. We've got all the oil. The earth is an oil-producing machine.
Making it.
I got another note on that from Scott Mashura in Montana. And he said, yesterday you were discussing the supply of fossil fuels in Mother Earth. I had a conversation with a guy, and to save Kenny the question as to who, his name is John Ardell. He is a Scottish fellow I used to cook for down on Sanibel Island and at the time was Exxon's top geologist. I was cooking for a group of guys down there during the BP pipe break in the Gulf. It had just happened, and BP was telling the world it would be capped and fixed within the week. He said, not a chance. It'll take more like 90 to 100 days, and if you recall, that's almost exactly what it was. The conversation of petroleum and oil on the planet came up. He calmly and matter-of-factly said there is plenty of oil on this planet. Humans will never run out. He also said that what no one is talking about is how we are going back and exploring what we thought were tapped-out pockets under the earth, only to find them refilled, so to speak.
Huh.
That piggybacks on what we learned yesterday about oil being produced abiotically.
Yeah, I couldn't explain it to Gabe. Gabe challenged me on that.
Yeah. Back to Kamala. She didn't really commit any gaffes, but she stayed in her golden book level of maturity. There was really nothing said there. This was a completely, as all political performances are in either party, especially the days after a State of the Union address, this was purely political theater that had nothing to do with anything.
To corroborate your opinion about this being ideology, case in point, this news site that I pulled this clip from, you know how they'll have on their websites, it'll have the subcategories. So, for instance, news, U.S. news, politics, world. So there's these other things you can click on. Oh, I'm interested in what happens to be going on in health news right now. One of the tabs on there is climate change. And I've seen that on various other news sites where now that's its own subdivision of the news.
Well, there's not much to be mined there. The VP came to the state and was here briefly and patted some workers on the back up at the American Flyer Company, which turns out apparently is Canadian. And didn't the Metro Transit have to put in a can one of the electric buses they bought 'cause it didn't work?
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
they pulled them.
Yeah,
Yep.
it didn't work.
But they peter out about halfway through the route?
I don't know, but I think that I just remain of the belief that electric is not the way to go, but it's part of this movement to gain the power and to control the power, and you're being sold on the idea that it's being done for the earth. It is not. It's harmful to the earth. It's harmful to the children who have to do the mining. And the same administration that wishes desperately for you to go to electric is preventing any mining for the stuff here. You know, and again, that's a tough one. We all love our boundary waters, but you're where are you going to allow it? Where are you going to allow the mining?
Got to draw
Just
the
let
line.
China do it all and become
Sure.
further beholden to them?
Yes. What's wrong with that?
Yeah. What a bunch of B as in B, S as in S. It's just dreadful. It's just dreadful. And she was here and she's gone now. And
It is great that
Let's move on.
That news clip, though, when she's speaking, it's a crowd of, I would say, I don't know, 100, 150
well, the people who work there, I guess.
But the crowd, every single one of them, because the camera is in the very back of the room, every single one of them has their cell phone up because they've got to chronicle the event. 'Cause
Well, we learned that they were schooled pretty well how to behave, and I'm sure they would have behaved anyway. It's the vice president, and
Well, I think it was a little
vice
stricter at
president's
school.
in your house. You're going to be
Gestapo.
polite and
Sure.
and what have you.
Yeah,
and
it's a big deal.
And she stood there with that grin, nodding her points. Howard writes, let me get this straight.
Check this out.
We just went through an incident involving a Minnesota state-run program that allowed taxpayers to be defrauded out of $250 million. Our Democrat-controlled Minnesota legislature just passed a bill for a food program that ensures school kids get breakfast and lunch regardless of their socioeconomic status. This program will be run by the state of Minnesota, the same state that blew it on the food fraud. What could go wrong? It's a tragedy that politicians can't be sued for incompetence, stupidity, or at the very least, indifference. They are utterly indifferent to those of us who base our decisions on history, fact, logic, and reason. It is becoming increasingly evident that only interests they serve are their own, and it is done under the guise of social justice. They are repugnant. Still fighting for the center. He's referring to the House of Reps voted 70 to 58 yesterday to pass a bill, House File 5, which would institute a universal, no-cost meals across the entire state. The bill now heads to the Minnesota Senate. If the Senate votes to pass the bill, Governor Walz will surely sign it as one of his priorities. It's hard to learn when you're hungry. The DFLers are acting today to help make sure Minnesota's children aren't hungry at school, but that they are ready to learn, Speaker Melissa Hortman said. When kids come to school in the morning, all of them should be able to go to the cafeteria and get breakfast to start off the day, and at lunch, everyone should get a meal. DFLers are working to ensure our children have every opportunity to succeed. Walz's administration estimates the proposal will cost $389 million over the next 2 years and $424 million in the 2 years after that. Yes, you in the back.
I have 2 children that attend elementary school, and they usually bring a lunch with them every day. This program already exists for kids that need a meal, that need breakfast.
This is for everybody, isn't it, Chris?
But what I'm saying, Kenny, is there's already programs in place where, let's say, poor little Billy or little Susie or whatever they identify as these days, if they want breakfast, it's available to them at no charge. If they need lunch, it's available to them at no charge.
Well, you're missing an important ingredient. That does not reflect equity.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
It doesn't reflect equity.
I suppose.
And you don't want to shame some kid who can't afford the damn lunch. So therefore, you get Muffy from Lake Minnetonka is also going to get lunch.
But that's my point. No one knows whether or not that kid is on the program or not.
Well, but that's the reason.
You're right. I'm just saying that this is nonsense.
And how much of that will be stolen? Because the people Walz has running things aren't very good at it. They're not very good at running things.
No, they're not.
So how much of this will be stolen? That's an outrageous amount of money. $389 million to feed the kids for the next 2 years. Why does it shoot up to $424 million in the 2 years after that? And how many people will this employ? And how many fraud opportunities will this present?
How much of the surplus is paying for this?
I don't know.
And
but
then
I would
how much?
imagine quite a bit.
And then how much are our taxes going to go up after that runs out? This is one of those things we'll be paying for perpetually.
Well, this state might seriously struggle to recover after another Walz administration.
Right.
After another Walz 4 years.
So when you break that down, what
and
am I
what will
doing?
he care? He'll have 4, 5, 6 public pensions to retire on.
Right.
Divided by 2.
Why does it go up $424 million? $424 million.
I did it by 12 per month, but there's not 12 months of a school year. There's only 9.
There is if you're fraudulent.
That's true. But that's $21 million every month for this program.
Man, you kids, you better be eating well.
That can't be right.
I did divided by 2, which was $194 million.
Those are expensive chicken nuggets.
And
huh?
I did 9 months, right? Because June, July, and August, we don't have school. That's $21.6 million every month for this state.
And who's going to handle that? The Department of Education, which already has been hoodwinked on $250 million food fraud, and whose leader slipped away conveniently enough without ever having to talk to the public.
And the other thing is, you can't even tabulate that based upon each kid that's enrolled in public school, because not every kid in public school is going to be part of this.
But we're talking some really high quality meals here, right?
Yeah, you ain't talking hash.
Right.
This isn't just a cup of mixed vegetables and some mystery meat,
They're
right?
getting filet.
This is
at lunch.
Spanish rice.
We're getting the
Remember
real
Spanish
deal here.
rice?
Spanish rice is fantastic.
What the hell was Spanish rice?
Oh, I love
Well,
Spanish
it's
dirty
rice.
rice and it's red.
Spanish.
They got some ingredients in it.
Hola.
Got some
Oh,
stuff
please.
in there.
Yeah. Can you hold, please?
Right,
I have
hold,
to
please.
eat my rice.
Nice to see.
Yeah, take a break if you want. Give me the sign like that.
You know, you can wash down that large meal the state's providing you with good, clean water. No, not that, Joe. That would be a disgusting way to wash that down. Hofferman Water can provide that nice, clean water for you and your family. I'm a living example. I've been a proud customer of Hofferman for 6 years now. And I love my Hofferman water system. You will too. Hofferman Water offers sales, service, and rental options for Connecticut water treatment systems. That includes water softeners, iron, rust, and odor filtration systems, and drinking water systems. That new system from Connecticut will cut down on that salt usage, and it's also going to protect your appliances. You get that new system and your showers are better, so is your laundry, and of course, your drinking water. So do this. Get in touch with my friends at Hofferman Water today. 952-894-4040. That's 952-894-4040. Or just look them up online. You can see every system they have to offer on their website, which is HoffermanWater.com. Hofferman Water has been proudly serving the state of Minnesota for over 50 years. Tell them you heard about them here on the Garage Logic Podcast.
This guy wears many hats, just not indoors. Joe Souchere.
You know, this week we welcomed the Minnesota Masonic Charities. We've been learning a little bit about these guys. Did you know that the Masons of Minnesota have been operating a beautiful nursing home in South Bloomington for more than 100 years? You probably didn't know that. From its beginning in 1918, a purchase of a 271-acre estate owned by Marion W. Savage, the owner of the famous pacing horse, Dan Patch.
Dan Patch.
Dan Patch was trained on that campus. The compassionate care has continued into the 21st century with its continuum of care community. Throughout their long history, Minnesota Masonic Home has provided a beautiful and comforting home for thousands of Minnesotans. But wait, there's more. They recently learned that Newsweek magazine rated the Minnesota Masonic Home the best, yes, the best, the 2023 #1 living community for seniors in the state of Minnesota. Now, that's a badge of honor. Garage Logic has a history of working with champions, and Minnesota Masonic Home is proud to be in that good company. For more information, go to mnmasonichomes.org. mnmasonichomes.org. I can see it right there. Rank #1, Minnesota Masonic Home Care in Bloomington. And they've got 214 beds, and they've got a wonderful, wonderful people behind them. Check them out online, mnmasonichomes.org. Yeah, you guys, we're proud to partner with you. I just wanted to say thank you for hopping on Garage Logic, and I can't wait to tell you more next week about Minnesota Masonic Charities.
Let's turn to Angie Craig for a moment, shall we?
Okay.
Because I've detected something,
What you got, Holmes?
and I don't think I'm off base. It took till the fourth pair. She was hit in an elevator. She's okay. It turns out it was some homeless guy who tried to attack her in an elevator at her apartment building in Washington, D.C., and she, to her credit, she fought the guy off, called 911, bing, bang, boom.
Yep.
It took until the fourth paragraph to hear this. There was no evidence that the assault was politically motivated. Okay. We didn't think there was, Nick Cole, her chief of staff. We didn't think it was politically motivated.
That didn't occur to me.
Angie, what you dealt with was the real life that dozens and dozens and dozens of women in Minneapolis and St. Paul have experienced in the last year. And here's what I'm noting. We'll continue to read. House Majority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said in a statement that he asked the House Sergeant-at-Arms and Capitol Police to work with Craig, her wife Cheryl Green, and their sons to ensure their safety. Although bruised, Representative Craig still took part in House votes later in the day while in our nation's capital and at home in Minnesota. While we will be there for Angie in any way that she needs in the aftermath of this very difficult situation, Jeffrey said. Were you there for all the women in the Twin Cities who get hammered like this every day?
Yeah, how about
in
that?
broad daylight? Because you see what you're driving at here? There'll be a test here. There's going to be a test.
Yep.
Craig, who was elected to a third term in November, lives in Prior Lake, rents an apartment near Washington Union Station. Angie is tough, man. She voted yesterday. Angie's tough as nails, and she immediately got back to work and voted on the House floor. Tweeted Minnesota. I'm reading from the Star Tribune. Tweeted Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who is in Washington. I'm glad to have met with her this morning to hear she's doing well. I'm glad she is too. A Metropolitan Police Department report said Craig saw an individual in the lobby of her apartment acting erratic if he was under the influence. Craig said good morning to the man as she entered the elevator to go to her apartment. He followed her into the elevator and began to randomly do push-ups. Let me stop right there.
Okay.
If the door to the elevator was still open, Get the hell out of the elevator, Angie.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah, but
riding
you don't know that it
anyone
was.
with anyone doing push-ups.
But you don't know that the elevator door was open.
I don't know that.
Yeah.
Police
No, but when you're standing there and the homeless guy follows you in, you
get
turn
out of the elevator.
You turn on your heel and
But
leave.
see, they don't know real life. They don't know it.
Right.
He then reportedly punched her chin with his fist and grabbed her by the neck. Police said Craig defended herself by tossing hot coffee at the assailant. Well, that's good. He fled before officers arrived. The case was under investigation. I was shocked and horrified to hear that Representative Angie Craig was assaulted this morning. It's a relief to hear that the injuries sustained by Representative Craig are not dire, and I wish her a speedy recovery. DFL Party Chair Ken Martin said in a statement. Well, Ken, you're among the phonies I'm about to salute here in a moment. I am grateful that D.C. police responded quickly to the situation, and I hope the assailant will be swiftly brought to justice. There is a thin veneer here, and it's not so much in this Star Tribune story, but it was on. It's pretty much everywhere you heard traditional news gathering efforts yesterday, nightly news, Washington Post, whatever you wanted to go to. There's a thin veneer that is screaming to say, we are politicians and we're under attack. No, you're not. You're not under attack. You dealt with the kind of people that everyday Americans are dealing with all the time.
Right.
And they desperately want us to believe that they're a royalty of sorts.
You just stole my word. Dang it.
They're a royalty.
I've been waiting to use that.
They're a royalty of sorts, and they should never have to suffer these kinds of indignities. And basically, they were just itching to say it was because she's a liberal Democrat,
Yep.
which isn't the case by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm not suggesting Angie's saying this.
Right.
It's that veneer.
The
that's
haymakers.
It's the combination of Capitol security,
Yep.
Walls, the head of the DFL party,
Yep.
and all of the media that have been,
Hakeem Jeffries.
and everybody that's been stroking her since this happened. And like you mentioned briefly, do you think they would do this for any one of the people that voted for them living here in Minnesota?
No, and they're
Of course not.
And they take no responsibility for the impact they've had on the American judicial system over the last 25 years.
Right.
That has resulted in more and more people attacking people who get on elevators.
Oh, I'm willing to bet it doesn't even occur to them.
No. So keep that in mind, euphorians and people in Liberal Lakes and Diversityville. When you read these stories, what you're really being asked to believe is that the royalty was offended, that they encountered an indignity that should absolutely not befall them. Well, BS. They're just like us when they're reminded that they're just like us.
They pretend they are during election cycles.
Right. You're not like us. You live in a rarefied, special atmosphere, and occasionally the real world breaks through like it did yesterday with Craig. Now, again, Angie Craig has not said any of this. I'm not putting words in her mouth. But the tribe she lives in has made
floated that trial balloon.
Has made it desperately clear that they want you to believe that what they stand for and their nobility and their fight for the American public has resulted in them being threatened. BS.
You know what's clear here? She clearly would have been much safer riding that Jeep to Cottage Grove.
Yeah. And Angie, how often do you ride light rail when you're in town?
0. You know that.
Come on. And again, I got to keep saying it so euphorians who read with their lips moving don't get me wrong. Angie's not saying any of this. She just said, yeah, some homeless guy got on the elevator. I threw coffee in his face and I got him. So bang, bang, boom, she's okay.
Well, we sure are lucky Jason Lewis didn't get elected because he would have run out like a chicken, you know?
Yeah, I don't even know. Does he drink coffee?
I don't know.
He would have had to have a hot
He
cup
probably
of
does
coffee.
push-ups, though.
So that's my speech on Angie Craig.
Well,
it's always
actually-
terrible to get attacked, but I know people who have been.
Matthew,
And I haven't heard a word from you, Angie,
Such-
or anybody.
Such Matthew brought up a good point. What if? I mean, do you want to play what if? What if it was Jason or some other Republican?
Okay, let's play what if. I don't think great sentiments would have been expressed. I don't think that Hakeem Jeffries would have rubbed his hands together in anguish.
Well, Lewis would have popped him in the face, I bet.
I would hope.
Well, he did have that ad where he was shooting the gun.
But, Angie, you now have joined the world of the rest of us who now have to tell the women in our world, your head's got to be on a swivel, baby.
24 hours a day.
24 hours a day. You better watch where you are. Watch where you're parked. Watch who you get on an elevator with. Watch everything. That's the real world, Angie. And again, I keep saying, Angie didn't bring this up. It's the people around her who are, they take these opportunities to create the impression that the good efforts they make on behalf of the American people result in them being under attack. No, you got some fruitcake who didn't even know who you were.
Walls' statement sounded like he had stopped and visited a friend that was in a high-speed crash involving a semi, and he barrel rolled and ended up in a lake and was hanging on by a thread, and it was touch and go for a while.
Yeah.
It was just over the top.
And I'm glad you're fine,
dramatics.
Angie. And I think she had a little bruise on her cheek there when she was doing some stuff.
But when you made the comparison with Lewis, I was about ready to say it wouldn't have happened because obviously she was targeted because she was female. Because this chicken-ass homeless guy wasn't going to go after some, we see that all the time in Minneapolis and in St. Paul.
Yeah. And then he strengthened up for it. He was doing some push-ups.
Right.
And then once he got his push-ups done, then he could had the
Let's
power.
go.
Well, I'm glad she fought the guy off. But don't fall for the BS, people. That third rail is so entrenched and so defined in their minds that it's
Wouldn't this
unfathomable to them.
Again, not to place blame on Angie because she didn't deserve this to happen, but isn't this also part of what these types of policies from the left have led to?
Oh, that's what Joe brought up.
I
Yeah.
said.
And nobody's going to bring that up
No.
because it doesn't even occur to them. Yeah. You're right, Chris.
The fact that when we try to clear out a homeless encampment in the city here, it's met with protests and everything else. Well, what do you want people to do here?
Or two 15-year-olds hijack a car. They're back on the street by 4 p.m.
Right.
And that's you, Angie. That's you and your crowd. And
if you really want to go down that rabbit hole, Joe, go read the comments on the stores closing in North Minneapolis with Aldi and Walgreens. These idiots have zero clue of reality.
well, all these closed because their lease expired.
Well, why do you think they didn't renew their lease?
There's two reasons they gave: that their lease was expiring, but from what I understand, they haven't been told they can't rent there. And number two, they wanted to do some renovations to accommodate their bigger product line. But I think underlying, and they're not saying, what they're not saying is exactly what Chris is trying to say.
Too much theft.
Oh my God!
Just it's right in the heart of it.
Yeah. Not only that, there's active crime rings that operate in their parking lots. Mm-hmm. Walgreens reported $150,000 worth of theft last year alone, and plus, people don't want to work there. Why would you want to deal with that as a job?
Mm-hmm. Well, all the criminal element does is make life hard for a mom who's trying to run the straight and narrow.
100% agree. 100% agree.
Do we have to pay reparations to carjackers in the event that comes up? I don't want to pay any reparation money to a carjacker.
Well,
I don't either.
If some people get their way, maybe we will.
Let's move on to our... we completely missed it yesterday, and I'm not interested enough to go back, but I bet they were beauties. We got so tied up yesterday, we never got to the little guy, Fry, who was, he announced his 5 priorities for Minneapolis.
Right.
Do you still have that, Kenny? I don't know what they were. I forgot to read it.
5 whole priorities.
5 priorities for Minneapolis.
More bike lanes.
I don't have
It's probably in there. It was on yesterday's front page, and I think one of you could find it real quickly.
I don't know.
You'll have to find it on the internet. I don't have it on.
I'm going to pull it up right now. Was it in the Strip?
Yeah, it was the front page of yesterday's Star Tribune. Fry's 5 priorities for the city of Minneapolis, and you could say this will be true the closer you get to every
country's
city in
tallest
this every city in this country with the tallest building.
A couple of them weren't bad.
I don't know any of them. That's why I
Mayor
was.
Jacob Fry lays out his 5.
There they are.
Okay, hang
Now
on.
just find me the 5. Are they bullet pointed, or do
Hang
we have
on,
to read the
hang
whole
on.
damn
I got
thing?
it. I got to get
Here
by
we
there.
go. Here we
Have to
go.
muddle through it.
Point 1.
Yep.
Housing and homelessness.
Okay.
The number, you want the definition or you just want the bullet points here?
Just the bullet points.
Number 2, public safety.
Okay. You already got about 15 people. We don't even know who's in charge. Okay.
Number 3,
3.
climate change.
See, that shouldn't be on the list.
Right.
Number 4,
Yep.
economic inclusion and recovery.
Well, that can't.
What's that mean?
That's a class you can't flunk.
That
Oh,
sounds like reparations.
I need
to me.
to read this one. It's just a paragraph. Economic inclusion recovery. Initiatives using city and federal funds are underway or in development to help Black, Indigenous, and people of color-owned businesses and entrepreneurs own their own businesses and real estate.
Okay.
Fry also said he wants to prepare the city for potential full legalization of marijuana, including licensure and planning for a smooth transition
That city is
for
so
small
shot.
business owners with a focus on supporting communities most impacted by the failed policies of prohibition. Number 5 on the 5 bullet points.
This is his 5th priority.
Good governance.
Oh,
Well,
my
you
God.
got no shot at that.
As part of adapting the executive branch of City Hall to the new strong mayor structure, Fry said he wants to return the city's workforce and basic city services to pre-pandemic levels with an eye on racial equity.
Well, in the meantime,
Back at the
It's
ranch.
funny. I try to conjure up an opinion on this, try to work myself up into a tizzy about some of these points, and then I remember all I have to do is look out out the window, and I see nothing but fields and trees. So
yes, you in the
I
back.
don't care.
We glossed
Don't
over
care.
we glossed over a big one with the
Yes.
climate change bullet point.
Yes.
I'm so sorry, but I must do this
what
to
a
you.
shame.
With more details to be rolled out this year, Fry wants the city to focus on cutting greenhouse gas emission with a specific focus on reducing racial disparities, according to a statement from his office. The 2023 budget includes $500,000 for businesses to convert to solar power and improve energy efficiency, and $700,000 combined with $2 million to $3 million in federal funds
There is no such thing as federal funds. That's your money.
to expand electric vehicle charging stations.
Imagine a globe. Can everyone,
Imagine.
the Imagine Bus Company. Everyone imagine a globe.
Okay.
All right. Now take a hat pin
Okay.
and just put the pin on the Nicollet Mall.
Okay.
And on the globe.
Right there.
There's a hat pin on the Nicollet Mall,
Yeah.
which would be the center of downtown Minneapolis, where they want to be carbon free.
Yeah.
Does anyone with even a half a brain think that would make any difference to the world if Minneapolis heated its business buildings with solar? There's your hat pin on Minneapolis. There's the big globe.
That's a
Okay.
big
There's
globe.
a little pinprick right there in downtown
I
Minneapolis.
see a red.
Do you
red
think that air is just gonna stay right there? You're gonna create air with no carbon in it, and that's just gonna stay right
We
there.
got clean air.
Because there's no wind. Wait, you want wind though.
Ain't going nowhere.
You want wind for the windmill,
Right.
but it can't be any wind.
She ain't going nowhere.
And you bitch about the sun because it makes things too hot, but you need the sun for the solar panels.
Well, that's what Gates is going to do. He's going to spray that crap in the air, and then
None
we're gonna,
of these people can hide the fact that this has nothing to do with the environment.
nothing.
Because it doesn't even stand 30 seconds of scrutiny. The air over Minneapolis right now just changed.
Oh,
Right. And we didn't even pause.
We didn't even pause,
Didn't
Rook.
pause.
Well, it just changed again.
Changed again.
Now it's over St. Paul. We're
It's like a
oh,
clock.
we got Minneapolis here. Oh, just changed again. It went out of St. Paul. In the meantime, yes.
well, I was looking at his bullet point of housing and homelessness, and while I agree with him, it's a problem. What they fail to address is why it's a problem, because their comeback to that is Affordable housing.
Affordable to
housing.
whom?
But the problem that the likes of Jacob Fry or Ilhan Omar or whoever, it's a drug addiction problem. This has nothing to do with the fact that Bert, homeless guy, can't afford a $1,500 rent payment. That's not the problem. The problem is Bert's hooked on.
He'd just soon spend the $1,500 on fentanyl.
Correct.
In the meantime, the city of Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Where the air is changing.
In the city of Minneapolis, the responsibility of clearing sidewalks after a winter storm falls on the shoulders of home and property owners. But a new push by Our Streets Minneapolis is aiming to change that. You know our friends at Our Streets
Love those
Minneapolis.
guys. They just work on this.
A
city.
long-held, back-breaking winter chore. This is Fox 9. Whoever wrote this should have honey put on them and let ants crawl over them.
Cool.
I'm just kidding.
That's
Who wrote
awfully
this?
harsh.
Nick, I'm kidding. A long-held, back-breaking winter chore might not be a concern for Minneapolis residents much longer, because you shouldn't have any concerns. As city council members are proposing an analysis to consider how a citywide sidewalk plowing and snow removal program might work. The Minneapolis City Council's Public Works and Infrastructure Committee will consider a proposal during its Feb 16 meeting. That's next week. The city will seek a comprehensive analysis of how a sidewalk plowing and snow removal program could be fully implemented by January of 2027. So they only need 5 years of planning.
Huh?
In short, shoveling sidewalks after snowstorms would now be the city's responsibility and no longer be subject to ticketing should the walkway remain unclear 72 hours later. The analysis will provide fiscal data of a 3-year phased-in municipal sidewalk plowing and snow removal program that encompasses the entire city sidewalk network.
They've expanded then.
It would include a breakdown of current and projected staffing that might be able to handle the task. The program would begin with a 298-mile pedestrian priority network
Right.
in 2024, then
Yep.
expand to include the entire 2,000-mile-plus city sidewalk network by 2027.
Wow.
The analysis will seek to include potential costs for equipment and maintenance, labor costs, staffing, and training needs.
How exciting.
I can't wait until this is implemented.
Recommendations will be presented to the committee no later than March 30 of this year. Snow-covered sidewalks have long posed mobility issues for the elderly and those with disabilities. Previously, nonprofit organizations such as Our Streets Minneapolis helped residents overcome the icy burden. I doubt that.
I doubt it.
Based on what I know of the members of Our Streets Minneapolis, I'm having a hard time seeing any of them out there with a shovel.
Oh, no. They're not going to do the dirty work. Come on,
Somebody's going
Joe.
to do it for them?
Come on.
If Minneapolis is going to become a truly walkable city year-round, we need to do a much better job of shoveling sidewalks. Our Streets Minneapolis Executive Director Ashwat Narayan told Fox 9 in March of 2022. The analysis would also include an assessment of current snow and ice removal programs and contractual programs currently utilized for snow removal. Can you imagine? Can you just imagine?
Imagine.
Joe, this is going to be the biggest disaster
Oh, God,
to
yes.
ever hit the city.
Or as Tom writes, they'll have to hire a consulting company to do a study and form a committee to select a commission to have meetings to propose a plan.
So are they going to be city workers or are they going to contract with independent contractors?
They will have to hire a consulting firm to do a study and form a committee to select a commission to have meetings to propose a plan.
No,
We don't know. And they don't know. But this will be more money from the taxpayer's pocket flushed down the drain.
Oh, God, I can't wait till this happens. This is going to be so awesome. It's going to be such a colossal failure. It's just going to be awesome.
And all you're going to hear is
Awesome.
money being flushed down the drain.
People
I
are
want-
not, oh my God, it's going to take them forever to get 2,000 miles. Is that what you said? Mm-hmm.
All I want, and I don't want much, all I want is the cheap-ass euphorians to buy some salt.
How long does it take to shovel the average drive or sidewalk in Minneapolis? Kenny, for you had a sidewalk, right?
10
we
minutes.
we did front and back. Yeah, 35 minutes to 40 minutes on a heavy snowfall. Light snowfall, 10, 15 minutes.
Is that really that much to
Did
ask?
anyone in St. Paul get a ticket? I mean, they always threaten these tickets. Has anyone ever actually gotten a ticket for not shoveling their sidewalk?
I do know somebody that did in Minneapolis.
Because in St. Paul, you could make $1 billion on fines.
Yeah, you could.
I thought a council
Tangletown.
member
Tangletown.
wasn't a council member repeatedly fined?
Yeah,
or was that
Lisa-
for grass?
No, that was.
That fruitcake that went to Duluth.
Yeah.
Was it Bender?
Bender.
Lisa Bender. Yes.
Bender.
Someone just sent in the Care 11 story to the free school meals.
Yeah.
Did you see what their headline is?
I didn't.
And this is from Bill. Care 11. Headline: The bill to provide universal free school meals could save families from $800 to $1,000 per year on food costs if approved. To which he said, "Who's paying for the free food?"
Well, not only could it save them $800 to $1,000, which they'll need for their increased taxes.
Right. But is that what this is part of?
I don't know. What it's part of is that we're in the grips of really bad leadership, and we're not going to get out of it anytime soon.
This snow shoveling fiasco
Mm-hmm.
could be what finally turns Minneapolis around and turns them from Democratic policies. Because you know how long winter is in the city. It just goes
7
on.
months.
It goes on forever. Cabin fever kicks in, the end of January?
Yep.
And when these people are met by this disaster and they get a big 12-incher in January or February and their walks aren't shoveled for 3 days, that could change things. Then you're going to see some real outrage.
But you think so, Kenny, or will the blame just be placed on somebody else?
Chris, I'm just killing time here. I couldn't care less. All I want, I just want this to fail miserably.
I do too.
I really want it to happen.
Eat popcorn and watch it fail miserably.
Exactly.
I got your cabin fever right here.
Oh,
What do you got?
Get ready for your first round of the 2023 Minnesota golf season, all while saving money and nabbing a great ticket benefits. The 2023 Choice Bank Minnesota Golf Show returns to the Minneapolis Convention Center Friday, Feb 24. We'll be there through Sunday, Feb 26. This is a live podcast. Will be there. Food, beverages, the 19th Hole Lounge. Great deals on equipment, balls, tees, shirts, you name it, shoes. Get lessons. Tickets are on sale now for $6. This is getting better by the day.
Let's go.
Tickets are on sale right now for just $6 with the promo code GOLFER and includes 14 free rounds from TwinCitiesGolf.com.
you'd go to the golf show if you had what I have.
What do you got?
$6.
Yeah.
Hey, get a pencil and paper. $6. Go to TwinCitiesGolf.com. That's a $500 value, plus a coupon for $20 off at PGA Tour Superstore. Go to MinnesotaGolfShow.com, presented by Choice Bank, and thanks in part to Nelson Marine, Waggle Golf, X-Golf Minnesota, Lift Bridge Brewing, and your select Buick GMC dealerships. Now, when you go to, you computer people, help me with this.
Okay.
So when you go to MinnesotaGolfShow.com, there'll be a place to enter a promo code.
There you go. Yes.
And the promo code is GOLFER. You get a ticket to the event for $6, and you're getting 13 free rounds of golf when the snow melts. I can't offer you a better deal than
That's
that.
a steal.
Either can the Choice Bank Minnesota Golf Show offer you a better deal than that. It's all at the Minneapolis Convention Center.
Hey GLers, it's Reavers here, and you've heard me talk about my relationship with Josh Arnold for quite some time now. And the reason I advocate that you give Josh a call is simple. Well, actually, it's two reasons: trust and results. Josh has seen it all when it comes to economic and market conditions. As he says, past results do not guarantee future returns. Well, that is true. Josh can make sure that your retirement objectives match your investments. And you can trust Josh to make sure that you are not paying more in fees than you are selling in returns. Yes, that is more common than you would think. So do yourself a favor by booking a 48-minute free consultation that has absolutely no obligation. Call Josh today at 952-925-5608. That number once again is 952-925-5608. You will be glad you did.
Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant LLC, a security investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice.
Chris Reavers is a paid endorser.
It's the end of the world as we know it, and he feels fine. Joe Souchere.
So I'm assuming you have your mechanic right there in the vehicle with you? No, not Jim Bob from the station. I mean a can of Seafoam Deep Creep and a can of Seafoam engine treatment. That's what they are, mechanics in a can. Keep them right there in the vehicle. The engine treatment's going to keep that motor happy, running strong, lubricating, stabilizing fuel, doing it all. And of course the Deep Creep, anything that screeches or creaks or gets sticky, hit it with the Deep Creep. That's doors, tailgates. Oh, you know what else Deep Creep works great on? Firearms. Next time you're cleaning your guns, keep a can of Deep Creep ready. It's our local company, and it's available all over the globe, and truly a couple of wonderful miracle products. Seafoam.
I'm reading from the Sahan Journal, which is a Somali-run newspaper. They've done some interesting work in the last few years. If I'm not mistaken, they were the outfit that broke the Hamlin story of the Muslim student who was offended because, even having been forewarned, she saw some depiction of Muhammad in a class.
Didn't they also break the food fraud story?
I believe so. No, not food fraud. Yeah, food
I thought
fraud,
they
daycare
did.
fraud.
Yeah.
Good for them. And this is a story in the Sahan Journal dated Feb 8, so just 2 days ago, by Becky Dernbach. So I must credit Sahan Journal with this. We have Hamlin back in the news.
What are we doing?
Well, it's the second time in recent months that Muslim students at Hamlin have raised objections to art displayed. Both artists, born 700 years apart, have roots in Persian culture. At Hamlin University, a student objected to a medieval painting of the Prophet Muhammad. At Macalester, students criticized contemporary depictions of Muslim women. So there's two colleges in play now.
Interesting. Both liberal colleges.
The dispute at Macalester, an elite college with a focus on internationalism, has so far played out differently than a similar controversy at Hamlin. Hamlin made the national headlines, of course, after a Muslim student objected to a 14th century manuscript depicting the prophet shown during an art history class. The professor, Erica Lopez Prater, had provided verbal and written content warnings for Muslim students. Hamlin chose not to renew her contract, sparking outcry. The professor sued the university for defamation and breach of contract. Hamlin professors voted overwhelmingly to ask the university president to resign. What did I just read about Prater's lawsuit?
That's on a separate story on the Sahan Journal. Okay. And you have to be it's above me. I
think she wants it in a different court.
Yeah, is it Ramsey County? Yeah, in Ramsey County Court instead of federal court. Mm-hmm. So they served a new complaint.
Well, we learned more about the painting the Muslim student objected to at Hamlin. No, I'm sorry. We're going to go now to Macalester in a new controversy. Okay. At Macalester, students objected to images in an art exhibition by Teravat Talpasand, a contemporary feminist Iranian-American artist based in Oregon. Reavers, what are you reading?
The article that you're reading.
Oh. Some sculptures and drawings in the...
Sorry.
Me too,
Stop
by the way,
following
Joe.
along.
Holy
I'm
crap.
following along.
All right, great.
I have a ruler up, and I'm just bringing it down with every line.
I'm playing Tetris.
Some sculptures and drawings in the exhibit depict exposed bodies of Muslim women wearing hijabs or niqabs. The college responded by closing the exhibit for a weekend, holding a community conversation, temporarily shrouding the gallery in black curtains, and then reopening the exhibit with a content warning and frosted glass on some of the gallery windows. In its response, Macalester attempted to balance care for students, respect for diverse voices, and artistic expression. The Law Warsaw Gallery reopened today after a short pause, said Macalester College in an emailed statement this week. During this time, we had several conversations with students, faculty, and staff to consider multiple perspectives from Muslim communities on campus, worked with the artists, and supported gallery staff. We also prepared the gallery to prevent unintentional or non-consensual viewing of certain works and added a content warning. Still, Macalester said the art would stay up. What in God's name is non-consensual viewing?
That's when you see something accidentally.
Non-consensual.
I've never heard of that either.
Remember,
You just can't unsee it.
remember that day we were walking back to the bus from the state fair, and you were looking at a motorcycle, and I was looking at a lady that was topless because she was changing shirts.
Oh.
That was non-consensual viewing.
From her standpoint, it would have been.
Well,
Macalester
It's a
said,
great example, Kenny. That was really good.
Yeah.
oh, and he's going, look at this chopper.
Not
What?
agreed to
What?
by one or more of the people involved.
we recognize and support the value and importance of artistic expression, including provocative art used in protest and activism, Macalester said. Therefore, the exhibit will remain open. We also recognize community impact and understand the pieces in the exhibition have caused harm to members of our Muslim community. And boy, does the world ever need somebody to say, go bleep yourself. Macalester declined to answer further questions about the complaints raised on Monday when the Sahan Journal visited the gallery in Macalester's Fine Arts Building. The black curtains were gone. Several pieces of purple construction paper lined the double glass doors. 2 signs were taped to the doors. One provided a content warning, the other a student-made flyer asking people not to attend the exhibit, and provided a QR code with a link to a petition. I can't read this whole thing. Ikran Noor, the junior American Studies major who started the petition, kind of ironic, she's an American Studies major, but still hasn't really grasped it. You know, we show stuff like this. Who started the petition, said she is one of the few students at Macalester who wears a hijab. She said she supported much of the artwork, but wished the college would take down some of the more explicit pieces. I think a lot of it is really proactive and really supportive of the Iranian women's movement, Ikran said, but the ones that are partially depicting hijabi women and niqabi women, I think those should be put down. Whatever, I don't know. In a phone interview, Talipsand, 43, the artist, reacted to the weekend closure and the black curtains that temporarily covered the glass walls of the exhibit, calling it censorship. She understood the decision to shut down the exhibit for a weekend, she said, and asked for a content warning to be put up. But leaving the petition on the door of the exhibit was a violation, she said. The artist said, I think it would be reasonable to demand the frosted decals and the petition be removed. Macalester's decision to keep the art up with a content warning that left both Muslim students and the artist dissatisfied. But the decision has not erupted into a scandal yet.
Are you familiar with Robert Mapplethorpe's self-portrait?
Yes, I am.
The bullwhip?
Vaguely.
I wonder
Oh, God.
if they put that next to one of these sculptures, which one would be more offensive to them? Because this Mapplethorpe thing leaves nothing to the imagination. And it's a bit of a shock if you're not ready.
The failed academy is greatly helped by Muslim students to bring down the failure of the academy, because what the Muslim students do is open the failed academy to whole new ways of being offended.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Whole new ways. That
It's
that the failed academy is just a bunch of prematurely gray-haired white women.
How come we didn't think
We
of
didn't
that?
think of that.
Right.
I have the analogy. It's like putting a turbo on wokeism.
Yes.
Just bam, foot to the floor.
They've given the failed academy dozens of new reasons
Yes.
to point out how children are discomfited by seeing an Iranian breast or something. I don't
And
know
the
what we're
fact
looking
that
at here.
it's turned to the art world, which has reveled in the offensive.
Well, one drawing shows Taliesin, that's the artist, shows Taliesin's mother standing with the woman who funded her education. A phallic arch looms above the women. The descriptive gallery label that accompanies the drawing explains that this arch represents the shadow of male power.
What is it, like a sword fight thing going on?
Kenny, another painting created directly on a sheet of Iranian riles. Wait a minute now.
Hold on.
Another
Better
painting
pre-read,
created
Joe.
directly on a sheet of Iranian reels, R-I-A-L-S, riles, that have been dosed with LSD, shows a woman slaying a white demon. Well, what other color could there be for a demon? Medieval Persian manuscripts show a male hero slaying the demon. Some of the images. I said edges.
Yep. It just,
Some of the edges.
yes.
Some of the images are yet more provocative. One graphite and watercolor drawing shows a man beheading two women. An egg tempura painting called Mohammed Meets Jesus shows a teddy bear with a Ken doll, an allusion to the Sudanese teddy bear blasphemy case. Well, you remember that case, don't
Yeah,
you?
vividly.
Remember that, Kenny? That Sudanese teddy bear blasphemy
I'll
case?
never, ever forget it.
God, that was earth-shattering.
It was amazing.
It really
I was
was.
stunned.
And some graphite drawings show the bodies of Muslim women wearing hijabs or niqabs, clothing that is usually meant to preserve modesty. Two drawings titled Blasphemy 10 and the Blasphemy 9 show a niqab, N-I-Q-A-B. How would you pronounce it? Niqab.
Niqab, yeah, niqab.
Niqab-clad woman pulling up her robe to reveal lingerie underneath. A series of
Va va voom. Joe would be
Ain't
looking
nothing-
at the car.
Ain't nothing you couldn't see in an awards catalog. And pulling up to reveal lingerie, a series of porcelain sculptures show women who are entirely covered with a niqab except for exposed, exaggerated breasts.
Oh, now we're talking.
Here we go. Nikon, the student who bitched, found out about the art exhibition from another student, but withheld judgment until she saw the art for herself. She did not attend the exhibition, but saw the art in an exhibit catalog.
Okay.
So this character hasn't even gone into the gallery, but saw the pictures in a catalog. And she said, I felt just objectified, to be honest. I felt degraded and dehumanized.
Maybe that's
Why did you go to Macalester then?
Maybe that's the point. That's what art does.
Art can do many things.
Yeah.
The exhibition just feels a bit targeting because there's not been that many Muslim students here, Ikran said. At a predominantly white institution, when I'm looking at who's attending the school, who's walking this exhibit, without understanding it. Why did you? Well, go somewhere where there's more Muslim kids then.
Yeah.
I guess all the kids are arriving at the conclusion that it's okay so long as you put up the warning. Boy, the Sahan Journal doesn't cheat you in copy. This is about 19 pages long.
Right.
They put the time in.
They're
Yep.
printing the ink. They're
Actual
printing the ink.
journalists is what they are.
They got her. Is he good now?
The email from Lisa Anderson-Levy, Macalester's executive vice president and provost,
Anderson-Levy.
and Alina Wong, the vice president for institutional equity.
Okay.
There's a made-up job title.
How do you get that review every year?
Acknowledges the disrespect, disregard, and invisibility. See, this no one was happier than Lisa Anderson-Levy. She had something to do that day.
She was her job was justified.
Somebody pointed out a new way to be
Yeah,
offended.
you're right.
Yay! I get to fire off emails and everything and pretend that I'm actually working.
Right.
No one was happier than old Lisa. And so she comes up with disrespect, disregard, and invisibility. She's got a little guidebook for all that.
Got it.
That many Muslim students expressed about the art exhibit. The administrators also recognized that other members of the Muslim community found powerful protest and support in Taravat Talipasand's work. That threw Lisa for a loop there. She got counteracted. She didn't know what to do. She went back in her office. As a community, we can hold both of these responses and honor the many interpretations of the exhibition, the email reads. Unfortunately, as the Taravat exhibition was installed, we did not take the steps needed to demonstrate cultural sensitivity and awareness of the possible impact of art. For this and for the harm it caused, we apologize. That's the director of institutional equity. Happiest woman on campus. I guess the...
You know who's got the sanest view of them all? The artist.
Well, yeah, I would expect nothing less. She's trying to defend her art. Sounds like a bunch of BS to me either way.
My artwork is unapologetic, she said.
I'd have to see it. And if I could do it, if I could paint what she's painted, in other words, if it was really bad, then it's not art because I could do it.
Right.
If I can do it, it's not art. Remember the guy who built a patio and called it a hanging thing?
Where was that?
Dakota symbolic, the stage where
yes,
Dakota
yes.
were. Well, hell, he went to Menards and he, got the plans to build a deck. Well, I can do that. That ain't art.
Well,
It's not art.
Well,
they still caved on it.
You could hire somebody. You could hire somebody to do it. You could supervise. You know what got my attention, and now I feel I need to see it too. The term exaggerated breasts. Yeah, I'm in.
You want to know more about the artist? 'Cause it's
it.
kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Talipasand, an assistant professor of art practice at Portland State University, that's got to be a failed academy, was born in Oregon to Iranian parents in 1979, the year of Iran's Islamic Revolution. Her work is displayed in museums in L.A., San Francisco, and Boston. She has held exhibitions in New York, Spain, the UK, Belgium, and Turkey. My artwork is unapologetic, she said in a phone interview. I'm making work that's finding the similarities, not just differences, between East and West, and how, in a lot of ways, they parallel. Sometimes it can be political, sometimes it can be controversial, but I do firmly believe that art can promote these conversations. Well, I think the artist sounds like she's on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Talipasand spent a week in Minnesota installing the exhibit, speaking with students and classes who came to see the art. On opening night, she described a large turnout of students, faculty, and artists from the community. Talipasand was able to answer questions about the artwork from community members who attended. She also shared details of the meticulous practice and craft that went into creating her paintings and drawings. It was really a great celebratory night, she said. I had women from Morocco, Egypt, Iranians who were there to support my work. Talipasand used the exhibition platform to be a voice and to share the awareness of what's happening in Iran, but not only in Iran, but what is happening here. You can't get farther from Iran than Grand and Snelling.
That's true.
Really?
That's true. That's true.
Grand and Snelling.
That's about as far away as you can get.
We're still fighting for female autonomy, and it's very much a conversation that is happening in many other countries. Why did Hamlin even bother to do anything? They should have just said, "Hey, we got this famous artist. She's going to install her stuff." and then go bleep yourself if you don't like it.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Well, they can't do that because they're a failed academy, and they do have people in charge of institutional and international equity.
No, but they as frequent 10 years ago they would have done that, Joe.
Yeah.
Even 5 years ago they would have said that.
My hat's off to this Sahan Journal. My God, when they cover something, they cover something.
It gets covered.
Yep.
They got the content warning now, but I don't think the artist likes the content warning.
She agreed to that, but got really mad when she found out about the curtains.
Yeah, and the flyer with the Q code.
She actually requested the consent label. And it should be on the door. The door should be closed so people can always read the consent to enter first.
I got more on the exaggerated breast, but it's way above your pay grade. And mine. The artist said the sculptures showing exaggerated bare breasts of Niqabi women invoked the Venus of Willendorf, a Paleolithic statuette from 25,000 to 30,000 years ago, considered one of the oldest surviving works of art. But she said they also serve as a commentary on the culture of body modification surgery in the Middle East. Some studies show that Iran has one of the highest rates of cosmetic surgery in the world. Let me stop right there.
Go.
My view of Iran is that it's war-torn, that people are scraping their way to a living, that
there's burned out shells of cars everywhere.
they're
That's what I see.
they're
Rusting.
under dictatorship, they're under religious police, they're under this.
Yeah.
But they have one of the highest rates of body modification surgery in the Middle East.
But nobody-
Where do they
yeah.
get the money? What the hell is that?
But who can enjoy it?
Yeah, I was going to say, and for whom are you modifying?
Yeah.
Sergeant Clinker, who's going to come down and whip you?
I know nothing. Oh, that's Schultz.
She explained that her graphite drawings of a woman pulling up her niqab to expose lingerie are based on an Iranian writer and rock and roll groupie, Roxana Shirazi, who wrote a book called The Last Living Slut, born in Iran, raised backstage.
Whoa.
Shirazi gave Talibsan permission to create art based on images of Shirazi from her book,
A good
Talibsan
girl.
said.
Huh? Yeah. Good.
What I really wanted to highlight in this work is there are women who were raised in a Muslim society and a Muslim household that have been sexually abused and have had sexual trauma, and that's in this book, Talibsan said. Here's a woman that is taking power in her body, that autonomy we are talking about today. Okay, so far 80 people have signed Ikran's position. Ikran's the original student who complained. So Ikran says that she thinks this is pretty harmful, and it's not like I'm saying no one should see the art, she said, but take it elsewhere. As an institution, you have the right to say, we don't want to be associated with this sort of thing. Well, yeah, lady, but apparently the college did want to be associated with it.
Right.
Talibsan said that in the future, she would make sure to have a consent label and encourage conversation for groups that might have strong reactions to her art. She is glad the students are expressing themselves and hopes the controversy leads to more discussion about art and censorship. My work is talking about really hard conversations about being a woman. That's just what it is. And I'd rather be making that conversation than some white man.
Oh. So I can't like it.
Oh, so there you go. God, these academies are so destroyed. They're just so destroyed.
Joe, you keep in mind the big winner here, the artist.
The artist is a big winner, and the director
great.
of international equity. She found some new ways to be pissed off. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. Why don't you take a break?
I'd like to read you an email,
water.
if that's okay.
You may. Is it germane?
To what you were just talking about?
That's what germane means.
Nine, it is not German.
No, but it's about the email is regarding to something I'm going to bring up.
Oh.
From you.
Oh.
This email is from Joe.
Yeah.
Says, Such, I got a question about Keller Tax Services for the Dummies. I just try to do my own taxes and now wonder if any of the GL tax experts like you or Kenny can answer this question. I live in Minnesota. can I identify as living in, I don't know, Alaska or Florida?
Why not?
Yeah, no, I can answer this. It has to be a neighboring state.
Oh.
So in this case, you would want South Dakota. You
yes.
identify as a South Dakotan, and then that'll be just fine.
Yeah.
Mail it in that way.
So there
you
you
might
go.
have to write it on the margins, but don't worry, it'll go through.
So there you go, Joe from Egan. Just identify as South Dakota and then make a call to Linda Keller from Keller Tax Services, a diehard GLer.
I think she's going to give you some different advice.
She will give you much different advice than the likes of us will do, because she's been doing this for over 20 years, and she prepares all types of returns for all types of professions and businesses. She has also perfected the virtual tax appointment. It's safe document exchange options that both include encrypted and secure, and it's the confidence of a professional with the convenience of staying right at home. So you can book your appointment by phone, 320-352-0013, or visit her website, which is right here, KellerTaxService.com. KellerTaxService.com. If you go online, you can book your appointment right there. She is fantastic. She's a GLer. You should use her like I'm going to. 320-352-0013. Please let Linda know that you heard about her services right here on the Garage Logic Podcast.
Finally, thank God today is Friday. TGTI Friday. It's the scramble!
Okay, you math nerds, help me out here. 2023 minus 1985. 2023, 1985.
8 is
38.
I give up.
38 years strong. You're right, Such. You won. Air Mechanical has been around and serving the entire metro Twin Cities area for 38 years for their heating, cooling, plumbing, all the electrical needs. They can also help with drain cleaning, duct cleaning, and indoor air quality. Air Mechanical, from general maintenance to full installations, they've got you covered. We're talking furnace, boilers, heat pumps, garage heaters, more. Air Mechanical employs top-trained professionals in the state of Minnesota, and they operate with full integrity. They do things the right way the first time, and that doesn't necessarily mean the easy way. You've got to give them a shout for any heating, cooling, or plumbing needs you might have. You can call or book online, thinkami.com. Again, write it down. That's thinkami.com.
Thanks, Kenny. Just a little info on your what we reported at Harding High School.
We didn't.
We did.
We weren't on the air.
Oh, we weren't on the air for that?
No.
Do we want to mention that?
Well,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A report of a stabbing at Harding High School. The victim, believed to be a student, has reportedly stopped breathing at the scene. Security at the school has secured a knife from the suspect, who is also reportedly a student, and the suspect is detained.
That's great.
I wonder what that fight was about.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Who's your nugget master?
You are.
The mayor.
His number is unlisted.
I got nuggets.
I was thinking something else.
I got your Super Bowl nuggets. I don't know if Tim got me brand new ones or if some of these have been heard before.
Lay one on me.
Huh?
They're all out of date.
The first Super Bowl was televised simultaneously on two networks.
I do remember that.
NBC had the right to air AFL games, while CBS had the rights for NFL games, and both felt they had the right to televise the Super Bowl. Tensions were so high.
How high were they?
A fence had to be built between CBS and NBC production trucks to keep everyone separate.
Really?
Wow.
Kurt Gowdy and Paul Chrisman were in the NBC booth. Ray Scott and Frank Gifford were in the CBS booth. Green Bay won the game, but NBC won the ratings battle.
Does it have the number?
No.
Oh, I'd be curious.
Max McGee of the Packers was a backup and did not expect to see much action in Super Bowl I. So he stayed out all night in L.A. and was clearly overserved. And he was Boyd Dowler, who was ahead of McGee on the depth chart, was hurt on the second play of the game. So despite being hungover, McGee went in to catch 7 passes for 138 yards and scored 2 touchdowns to lead the Packers to victory, which pretty much blows up any theory about alcohol you can come up with.
Right.
In 1972, President Richard Nixon called in a play to Miami coach Don Shula about a pass route for Paul Warfield. Shula went with Nixon's call, but the Dallas Cowboys stuffed it. That was the beginning of a bad 2 years for Nixon.
Ooh,
I'll say.
Reavers will not want to miss the opening of this year's Super Bowl. The flyover features FA-18F fighter jets, which were seen in the newest Top Gun movie. The flight crews this year will be all female to celebrate 50 years of women flying in the U.S. Navy.
Born female and stayed female?
I think so.
Okay.
The coin toss will feature 4 Pat Tillman scholars. Tillman
cool.
played for the Arizona State and for Arizona Cardinals before enlisting the Army, and he was killed in Afghanistan in 2004.
Friendly fire, if I'm not mistaken.
Buying an expensive Super Bowl does not guarantee success for your company. Buying a successful Super Bowl ad, I should say. One of the biggest advertisers in last year's Super Bowl was a cryptocurrency company called FTX. Their ad featured Larry David as a sad sack who doubted new ideas like cryptocurrencies.
Well, he was right.
The tagline at the end was, "Don't be like Larry. It turns out you should have been like Larry." FTX filed for bankruptcy 10 months later, and billions of dollars of customer funds are still unaccounted for. FTX owner Sam Bankman-Fried currently faces multiple criminal charges. And there's only one thing about that I'm guaranteed to know for a fact.
What?
Larry David got his money.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right.
Perhaps the strangest halftime show occurred in Miami in 1989.
It wasn't us.
I don't recall this. It featured an Elvis impersonator named Elvis Presto, who did not actually perform any Elvis songs. The show also had a theme problem. It featured a large-scale card trick, pink Cadillacs, and 102 custom-made Harley-Davidsons. This was the first halftime show to feature 3D technology. Prior to the game, Coca-Cola distributed 26 million 3D glasses at retailers for viewers to use. Unfortunately, the actual home viewing audience was more than 3 times that number. The title of this halftime disaster was Bebop Bamboozled in 3D, and that pretty much says it all.
Wow. I remember that. That was the Niners and the Bengals.
Miami redeemed itself in 2007 when Prince took the stage and showed the world how you do a halftime show. His set list included We Will Rock You, Let's Go Crazy, Baby I'm a Star, Proud Mary, All Along the Watchtower, and Purple Rain. And yes, it was raining heavily as Prince performed in the open-air stadium. Perhaps God was watching the Super Bowl that night, which reminds me of the great line Prince had when his people came to him and said, "Oh, God, what are we going to do? It's raining, it's raining." And Prince said, "Can you make it rain harder?"
Which is a great line.
And that was the year he saw Sid and said,
Love
"Hello,
that.
Mr. Hartman." Because Prince would have known who Sid was.
Of course. Yeah, Minneapolis kid.
That's right. That Sid column was on the breakfast table.
And remember that Prince Rogers Nelson was a huge Vikings fan. He was.
Yeah, and Timberwolves.
Well, but I'm
too.
just like
Yeah.
football, so he was,
He was a
engaged.
sports fan.
Yeah.
Well, then when he became goofy, you didn't see him at any sporting
Right.
events.
But that's one of my favorite stories when Bobby Hagan brings Prince or Sid to Prince. I love that.
Yeah.
It's so charming.
Hi,
And
Mr. Hartman.
I think that seriously, I think this is Bob's last official duty. Because doesn't he usually work the Super Bowl for the NFL? Because he's retiring from the Vikings.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I was an intern with him at Care 11.
Great.
and
One of the greatest human beings
He's
ever.
wonderful.
Bob Hagan's a great guy.
Only.
Yeah.
Wait. In the last election, 13 counties in Minnesota voted for Governor Walz.
They better not be part of the
13
new state.
Counties. Such, I don't know what to do about the dividing line.
Well, you've got to work on it.
From what I'm sorry to sacrifice you conservatives in the far eastern edge of the state, but now I'm thinking 35E or I-35 right up to Dakota,
Really?
Am I out?
right up to Dakota County, and then over through, I don't know, are we going to split Scott and Carver?
Yeah,
I'd have to.
Yeah, you are.
We're going to have to split Scott and Carver, go up the western edge of Hennepin up to around, I don't know, Rogers, maybe?
Yeah.
And then back over to 35, and then all the way up, and go straight up, because St. Louis County, Lake County, Cook County, they were strong for the Democrats.
Well, Duluth.
So we're
going to
keep the whole Arrowhead.
that whole BWC, BABW, BW, BATC with 3 votes. They got to be banned.
Am I out in South St. Paul?
You and Such
we're
are
screwed.
out.
We're
You're
screwed.
out.
Am I making the cut?
I'm not making any promises to you, Chris.
All right.
I'm sorry. And John is out too.
Jeez. Well, it doesn't bother him.
So then, what do we do about where do we put the capital, the new state capital?
Well,
Because
you'll
I
get-
don't think we should join the Dakotas. I think we should secede and start a 51st state. We should stand alone.
In an extremely small town.
Roseau County was the heaviest voting county for Jensen, 49.96% of the vote.
Well, maybe Rosso's the new capital.
Way up there where it's good and cold.
Yeah.
We'll put it in an abandoned storefront or something right on Main Street.
Only because they come to us all the way from Marloth Park in Mpumalanga, South Africa, from the Traveling Lymans at worldwidewaftage.com. It was on this day,
Feb 10.
in 1763, in the treaty ending the French and Indian War, France transferred to Britain the territory that later became Minnesota. On this day in 1806,
210.
Let's go.
Lieutenant Zebulon M. Pike, exploring the upper Mississippi Territory included in the recent Louisiana Purchase, arrived at the Northwest Company post on Leech Lake. Licensed from the British Union, incensed that the British Union Jack still flew there, he ordered it shot down and replaced it with the Stars and Stripes. Pike was something of an ingrate, however, as he enjoyed the hospitality of the post both before and after the incident. British fur posts remained in the region until the end of the war in 1812. Until the end of the War of 1812. And finally, on this day in 1971,
February 10th.
about 250 demonstrators in Minneapolis protested the Vietnam War with a march from the University of Minnesota campus to the Federal Building on Washington Avenue, where they threw a few snowballs and then dispersed to distribute leaflets and get into raps with people about the war.
Huh.
Hey, man.
What year?
Hey, my brother, what you think
1971.
about the war? Like that kind of rap?
Hey,
Did you join? Were you part of the protest?
I might have been rapping.
I bet.
Might have been rapping.
Dropping a beat?
Yeah, I could rap. Hey, man, what about that now? Hey, man.
What an embarrassment. My God.
GLers, thank you. Harding High School kids.
What are we going to call the new
What am I going to
state?
tell you?
What are we going to call the new state?
You've got a lot of work to do, Kenny. This is your baby. You want to take us apart.
Who's the most offensive person ever from Minnesota? We'll name it after him.
Wes Walls. Or what's his name? Tim
No,
Walls.
We can't name our new state Walls.
That's true.
Can we just name it Pissed Off?
Yeah.
We're done. Is that doable? How about PodMN, YouTube,
Muslim
Instagram,
art.
Facebook?
Call us Muslim art.
Garage Logic Council, you can sign up at garagelogic.com, right?
Yes.
I'm getting word that it was could be a sophomore that lost their life today.
Male or female?
Do not know. Do
Man.
not know. That's sad. Yeah.
It is time once again to check in with our guy, Mr. Money Talk. Josh Arnold is on the line with us once again here in Garage Logic, and now's the time for you to do the same. So pick up the phone and make that call for that free 48-minute financial consultation by dialing 952-925-5608. That number once again is 952-925-5608. You call that number and you get Josh, and you're always going to get straight talk. You are never going to get sugar-coated advice, and Josh Josh is with us once again. And Josh, today you would like to touch on artificial intelligence and the Super Bowl.
Now, somebody's going to say artificial intelligence in the Super Bowl. There's going to be somebody that's going to be using Chat GPT or Bard or some other named company that's affiliated with Microsoft, Google, Alibaba, or Baidu to try to figure out a way that they can beat the odds that they're laying down either through Barstool Sports or DraftKings or FanDuel through the company called Flutter, or using MGM bets, or even going to Caesar's Palace and placing a bet on their sports book to outfox the bookmakers and collect a little bit of money. Well, it's Super Bowl weekend, and the Super Bowl is taking place in Arizona where, guess what, online sports betting is legal. FanDuel, owned by Flutter, which is a British company, is looking, I do believe the number is 17, not million, but 17 billion in bets placed for the Super Bowl. DraftKings is looking for, I'm not sure, a similar number, but they're looking for a large, we'll say, handle, most of which is going to be small bets placed. DraftKings has found Super Bowl weekend is when they add a lot of new customers. Now, adding new customers does cost a bit of money. I have seen that DraftKings is going to show one or two ads at the Super Bowl, and this year those ads cost $7 million a piece for a 30-second spot. That's a lot of dough placed for an ad on the Super Bowl, and it is a new record in terms of advertising. In looking at the list of advertisers for the Super Bowl, Pepsi-Cola seems to dominate the list of advertisers, either directly when you see a Pepsi ad, or we'll say indirectly through one of their many subsidiaries or owned entities, including Frito-Lay. Pepsi, by the way, did report earnings which were a little bit better than expected, but Pepsi's CEO said still see signs of inflation, which guess what? Means the cost of your Pepsi-Cola is going to go up. That's a wait and see. Somebody can say, you're not a Pepsi drinker, Josh. You're a Coca-Cola drinker. That is true. Coke is also going to have some ads there, and it is interesting the number of different advertisers there, including one from a company called Dexcom, which has a medical device to chart and check your diabetes levels. Very interesting device, and Dexcom also reported their earnings another beat quarter. Speaking of doing better, we'll go back to the gambling companies. MGM reported one of their better quarters, although their EPS number was lighter than had been expected. MGM stock is up on that news, plus the news that they're being allowed to add 200 more tables at their Macau resort. MGM is still about $10 a share under their last high, and they've kind of moved very slowly and steadily, but they are one of the dominant players at Las Vegas, along with Caesars, which reports their earnings next week. Wynn Resorts, also having a fairly popular sports book, hit a recent high on the backs of better numbers, and they were sporting some very good numbers in Las Vegas. One of the things that is interesting, at least in my view, is the concept of life is too short. So anything related to leisure and hospitality has been outperforming other types of stocks and other sectors of the economy. As to artificial intelligence, it's going to be a little bit long before those companies are profitable, but the use of artificial intelligence is tremendous, and you already see that use in whether it be Microsoft using it to get an inroad into search and try to have their Bing product compete better with Google or with Apple or Amazon or Spotify in trying to help you identify products or services that you might like. But that's just the early on with this. Little company called CA3 is working with government contractors on developing AI for the Air Force, among other products. These companies involved in artificial intelligence are expensive on both the price to earnings if they have any, and price to sales, and they are very volatile. So be careful right now. Speculative category. Bet well, my friends.
Very good advice, Mr. Money Talk. You heard him, GLers. Now's the time for you to pick up the phone and make that call for that free 48-minute financial consultation by dialing 952-925-5608, where you're always going to get straight talk and you're never going to get sugar-coated advice. Josh, once again, thank you so much for the time and the chat. Have a great rest of your day and a fantastic weekend, and we'll talk to you again next week.
We'll see how my Eagles do.
Fantastic.
See ya.
Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant LLC, a security investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice.
Chris Reavers is a paid endorser.